Senate will come to order. Welcome back, Mr. Secretary. All right, please stand for the playing of the national anthem. Please remain standing for a moment of reflection. You may be seated. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's see. Senator Parker, I think hasn't been sworn in yet, so
He's also present.
I'll figure it out. Senator Linda. Senator Linda will be marked as absent. President Pro Tempore Foxy Slane.
Present.
Thank you. Senator Perch. Senator Perch will be marked as absent. Senator Kinger is here via proxy. Senator Lord Guzmi. Senator Lord Guzmi will be marked as absent. Senator Cursed Vision is here via proxy. And finally, Senator Dutch Alpha Play. Senator Dutch will be marked as absent. Is there someone that I didn't name? No? Oh, Hydro. Let me check.
Mr. Parliamentarian, I'm also present. I just submitted a proxy to be safe. So.
Oh, all right.
Mr. Vision? Okay.
Vision. Cursed Vision.
Ed, Hydro is not in the list.
He's Kirk. He just changed his name.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. Alright, I'll put him as present. And Cursed Vision as present. Okay, Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Appreciate that, Mr. Secretary. Moving on, before we get to approval of the agenda, you might notice that there are new items on the agenda since it was finalized. These items were passed by the House earlier today at their session. Feel free, if any of these are important to you, which there is one, there's a joint resolution for the SOTU. Please feel free at the end of legislative business to motion to consider one of them if you deem it necessary. Are there any objections to how the agenda for tonight's session is currently presented? Hearing none, the agenda stands approved. And also, I would also like to note that HR 6602 is out of committee. I said that in the announcement channel, but I just want to make sure everybody knows that we will be voting on that tonight. All right. The floor is open for any opening remarks or motions to be made.
Mr. President,
Senator,
I have an opening remark.
okay, you are recognized.
You know, as Congress, we have a duty to, do what our jobs are. They're debate, legislate business, and make things legislation and stuff like that. But we have people, party leaders who object to that. They think that we should just push bills through without debate, without having committee meetings and things like that. But that's just not how things are. That's not how things work. Committee chairs have a certain authority. They have a decision to pull bills with the approval of their members. And, when they do that, they should be punished. Party leaders should stand by their committee chairs, and party leaders should stand by their party leaders. So, I just don't think my resignation was done in a, proper manner. I thank President pro tempore for that. But things happen, and I look forward to legislating business and taking my due diligence on bills in the future. I'm still chair of my committees. I still have some authority, and yeah, I yield.
Floor remains open.
Mr.
President pro tempore,
President.
you
Mr.
are
President.
recognized.
Oh, may I respond?
Yes, you are recognized.
It is completely the choice of the caucus who we assign as the caucus leader and who we remove from the caucus leader. I would like to clarify that he did not resign. He was removed from the position of caucus leader, and that is completely based on the choice of the caucus. The caucus didn't feel that they represented him properly, considering the amount of public retaliation, we'll call it, that was caused by his actions on several occasions over the last few weeks. But I don't think it needs to be explained. It's completely based off the choice in the caucus who they decide to represent them within this chamber, and that we have decided collectively that we didn't want him representing us anymore. And that was simply our choice. It has nothing to do with authority. It has nothing to do with committees. It was simply based on the way he presented himself in a public fashion that we wish to be represented by someone else. I yield the floor. And also move that we proceed to the legislative business of our agenda.
Is there a sufficient second?
Mr. President, point of order.
Point of order. Go
Uh,
ahead.
The senator from Rhode Island is not
Is still
interested.
standing. Okay. Senator Hydro Chloroquine, if you would get out of the, what is that, joggers or blue jeans and t-shirt, maybe into something more dress appropriate. It is
I wasn't aware that
Senate
my
standing.
character wasn't refreshed.
It's new. It's new actually. It just happened.
No,
So.
I had the suit on. It's just not refreshed.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
I also second the motion.
Okay, there being a sufficient second to move on to legislative business, we shall do so. The first item is, well, the clerk will report the first item.
Give me 1 second as I open it. Um, okay, there we go. HR 6601, the Secretary of Homeland Security Taser Act of 2025, proposed by the Honorable Speaker of the House, likely Mr. Owner, followed by Mr. Clipwald and Mr. R3 Vocate, a bill to provide the Secretary of Homeland Security with a taser, given as he is in possession of cuffs. Purpose, since the Secretary of Homeland Security possesses the cuffs tool in-game, this bill proposes that developers grant them access to the taser as well to help minimize the risk of incidents involving cuff rushing. It is important to note, as outlined in Article 6, Section 4 of the United States Constitution, that this only serves as a suggestion to the developers. That be all, Mr. President.
Are there any remarks or motions to be made on this item?
Mr. President,
President Pro Tempore,
I move to proceed to a vote.
is there a sufficient second?
I second.
There being a sufficient second, we shall now move to a vote on this item. On this vote, the ayes are 4, with 1 nay and 0 abstaining. So the ayes have it, and the bill
Mr.
is
President, may I
agreed
have the
to.
floor?
You are recognized.
I urge senators that have an issue with bills on the legislation to take the floor and begin debate on the items, rather than just voting nay. I yield.
All right,
It's more fun.
appreciate that. Moving on to the next item, will the secretary please report?
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's see, HR 6602, CSPAN Employee Restrictions Act of 2025, proposed by Mr. R3 Vocate, followed by Mr. Rolly Devs, a bill to bar CSPAN reporters from covering an article regarding a department in which they are employed. Purpose, to further ensure that CSPAN reports and covers the news without bias. This bill aims to prevent cable's employees from posting any news related to a department or branch in which they work. That will be all, Mr. President.
I must say, I would have preferred if it said BS instead of bias, but I'll take it. Yeah. All right. Are there any remarks on this bill or motions to be made?
Mr. President.
Senator,
In regards to this bill, we live in America. The government does not have any right to govern what kind of media the people consume. If the people consume media that's biased, so be it. I believe it's within their First Amendment right. C-SPAN might be included in the U.S. code, but it's still a news agency, and I do not believe that it should be legislated by the Congress. Yeah, this is a clear violation of free speech, and I might relate this to the Soviet Union. We don't want a state media. The United States does not have a state media, and they should not have any authority over what C-SPAN produces. I yield.
Are there any other remarks to be made or motions?
Mr. President,
President Pro Tempore, you are
may I have the floor?
recognized. You are recognized.
C-SPAN is a government-appointed and government body agency. It's literally part of the government, and Raleigh Devs is an appointed director. While this is true for what he says about other news agencies, where the choice of citizens to consume such media, et cetera, is within their rights, I will reinstate that C-SPAN is a government agency. It is supposed to reflect our events in the truest and most true form, nothing else but the truth. It is what we are being represented by, and is what we should be able to rely on for true information. This is not a bill to hinder any kind of news coverage, but rather just prevent any kind of subconscious bias that might be created by a member of C-SPAN who's reporting on a topic that they are employed on. If a Secret Service agent is literally putting out news on Secret Service, there could be an unconscious bias that they're not aware of because they're a member of Secret Service. We want C-SPAN to be the only reliable, well, not the only, but just be a reliable source as it is appointed by the government. I'll yield the floor.
Are there any other remarks to be made or motions?
Mr. President,
You, Senator.
I just like to rebuttal and have the floor.
Yes, you are recognized.
So, I just still don't get why the people can't make that decision for themselves. Why does a legislative body have to make that decision? Which is why I will be in opposition of this bill. I don't believe that any legislative body should be governing what kind of media the people consume, whether or not it's a positive impact or a negative impact. No, it doesn't happen in real life. It should not happen here. It might be a government organization, but it still produces media. It should not be governed by the legislature. That might be organized and controlled in terms of who they place into control it, but in terms of media, legislature should stay out of that production. I yield.
Are there any other remarks or motions to be made in regards to this bill?
Mr. President,
Senator Kirst,
I motion to move to a vote on this bill.
is there
I
a
second.
sufficient second? There being a sufficient second, we shall now move to a vote on this item. On this vote, the ayes are 3, with 1 nay and 1 abstaining. So the ayes have it. The ayes have it. And the bill is agreed to. Will the clerk please report the next item?
Right. Senate Resolution 6603 to introduce a limit on time a senator can take to be sworn in. Proposed by Senator Kurt Vision. Resolved to amend the Senate standing rules with the intention of adding a rule which requires senators to be sworn in within a certain amount of time before their seat is vacated. And to also correct formatting mistakes of previous standing rules amendments. That be all, Mr. President.
Are there any remarks or motions to be made regarding this bill?
Mr. President,
Senator Kirst.
if I may just speak on this resolution
Yes, you are
momentarily.
recognized.
Thank you. For clarification for my colleagues in the Senate, this bill, for one, is introducing a time limit on senator-elects or Senate appointees to be sworn in, so that they are given a level of accountability and a level of motivation to be signed or to be sworn in a timely manner. So that way we don't have any future incidents where we're taking, a good amount of time, and there's some regulation on the amount of time that someone can take. Furthermore, the other pieces of the resolution just simply fix some wording and also fix the numbering of the actual some previous resolutions that have been passed. So just for clarification on why you might be seeing some verbiage that is already either in the Senate standing rules or that was recently passed in other resolutions. And I yield the floor.
Are there any other remarks or motions to be made regarding this bill?
Mr. President,
Senator,
I motion to move to a vote on this bill.
is there a sufficient second?
I second.
There being a sufficient second, we shall now move to a vote on this item. On this vote, the ayes are 4 with 0 against and 1 abstaining. So the ayes have it. The ayes have it. And the resolution is agreed to. Let's see. This concludes our legislative business for today's agenda. Are there any closing remarks or motions to be made?
What?
Yeah. Are there any closing remarks or motions to be made?
Mr. President,
If you're about to say what I think you're going to say, I made this announcement at the very beginning of the session, of which the last couple of items were added after the agenda was finalized. So if
correct.
you guys want to consider them,
Mr.
you have to
Mr.
make a motion.
President, Mr. President.
President pro tempore.
I move to enter HR 6604, HR 6605, HR 6606, and House Joint Resolution 6602, which were passed recently by the House's session, to tonight's agenda.
Is there a sufficient second?
Second.
All those in favor do now say aye. Those opposed, nay.
I
Aye.
Appears the ayes have it. The ayes have it, and the items are included on tonight's agenda. Will the secretary please report HR 6604?
Sure. HR 6604, the Secret Service Provisions Act of 2025. Proposed by the Speaker of the Honorable Speaker of the House, likely Mr. Owner, a bill to provide agents of the Secret Service the ability to spawn the vehicles critical to pursuant of their duties. And I believe that's it. Yep.
Are there any motions or remarks to be made regarding this bill?
Mr. President, motion, or actually, Mr. President,
Senator,
I motion to move to a vote on this bill.
is there a sufficient second?
I second.
There being a sufficient second, we shall now move to a vote on this item.
Mr. President,
Senator Hydro,
point of order. I don't believe we have a quorum.
2, 3, 4. That is true. We do not. So this vote will not be counted. The proxy obviously cannot be counted because these weren't finalized on the agenda. So, is there a motion
Mr. President,
to, okay, Senator Hydro.
I move to adjourn.
Okay, there's a motion to adjourn. Is there a sufficient second? Or objection?
I second.
There being a sufficient second, that concludes the third session of the 66th Senate. Sessions hereby adjourned.